Doing today. This is Don't Oversell Wrestling. I am Doc Wrestling, and today's episode is What If? What if Owen Hart didn't pass? And I'll explain why I got this up in 1 second. So, what if Owen Hart didn't pass? What if he was here for the invasion angle? What if he was there for the elimination chamber? We're gonna get into all of that. First, we're gonna talk about his history. We're gonna run down his achievements, and then we're gonna go into the what if and the dream matches. So Owen Hart was actually one of 12 kids by Stu Hart, who owned Stampede Wrestling. Now, if you don't know a lot about Stu Hart actually was one of the pioneers of wrestling in Canada. This old man really wrestled a bear in real life. But being one of 12 kids, he went ahead, he tried to do other stuff other than wrestling, but it didn't really work out for him. So he ended up going into wrestling. In 1988, he worked for Stampede Wrestling, which is his father's company. He was tag team with his brother Brett for a while, and actually the British Bulldog and some of his other brothers. Later on, in this time of wrestling, before he came to WWF, he actually did a little stint in New Japan, and that's where he learned how to do a lot of this stuff in Stampede in New Japan with people like Dynamite Kid, Chris Benoit, and a lot of people that we know now to be legendary. Ultimately, WWF would buy Stampede Wrestling and also inherit the contracts of the wrestlers from Stampede. So he ended up making the Hart Foundation, including Owen Hart. Once the Hart Foundation split up, he went back to his moniker as the Blue Blazer, but this time he actually wore a mask, which is ludicrous because everybody still knew who he was. He still did the same moves. He, stood out of the crowd because everybody still knew who Owen Hart was because he would do the backflip off the top rope. And at the time, it wasn't almost anybody doing a backflip off the top rope and actually landing on their feet. By this time, Owen Hart had looked like the wrestlers that we have today. He looked like a Seth Rollins, Grand Metalik, Ultimo Dragon, and Rey Mysterio's. Way before these guys even touched the ropes or even got out of school, he was already doing those types of moves. So a lot of the times, his matches, his opponents was just standing there, and he would be jumping around and flipping and doing more technical moves than the other wrestlers. So he didn't get that opportunity because it wasn't a lot of good technical wrestlers other than his brother, Shawn Michaels, The Rock. He had matches with Steve Blackman and other people, a lot of mid-carders at the time. But he never really got an opportunity to do a whole lot and really show out his ultimate talents. A lot of people don't know is he did have a little stint at WCW where he actually wrestled 5 matches in the Dark Show. And when you start listening to some of the things that he did throughout his career in WWF, when he came back, it was almost as if he was destined to ultimately be somebody bigger than what he actually was, other than just a mid-carder. WrestleMania 10, he beat his brother Brett. 94, he won the King of the Ring and ended up getting Feud of the Year from Pro Wrestling Magazine. He was in multiple tag teams with the Hart Foundation members and also Yokozuna for a little bit. Later on, he started beefing with DX and joined the Nation of Domination. He left the Nation of Domination and then ended up going and doing another tag team stint with Jeff Jarrett. But then they didn't really know what direction to put them in once they split them up because Jeff Jarrett had actually went left and went to WCW. So they brought back the Blue Blazer, which ultimately led into his untimely death. Now, of course, after saying some of that, I say this. He's had numerous achievements. I mean, Rookie of the Year in '87. He had Tag Team of the Year, Feud of the Year, Slammies for 3 years, multiple Tag Team champions. He had the Intercontinental Championship, the European Championship, along with participating in a couple Royal Rumbles. No, he didn't actually win one, but I'm pretty sure if he actually did win one, he would actually have gotten the push that he rightfully deserved. And a lot of people don't look at stuff like this and stats like this. By him winning the Tag Team, European, Intercontinental, and possibly the Hardcore title, he was almost a shoo-in for the Grand Slam champion in the 90s before Shawn Michaels even got the belt. And even though the Montreal Screwjob happened, Owen Hart was the only person who got more money to stay than everybody else. So he was the one that actually was still there after all that had transpired. Now I go into what if Owen Hart never passed. Now, my biggest thing is back to this. So, yes, yes, yes. yes, he would have gotten the push that he deserved if you really look back at Owen Hart's matches against Edge, Steve Blackman, even The Rock. He made them very entertaining. If you go to his matches with Dynamite Kid, they look very similar. He actually had a hidden dark match in '95 against Chris Benoit, which was extremely hard to find. But at the same time, it's happened. And these were all like 4 or 5 star matches that they would be quoted as today, 4 or 5 star matches. And by him winning so many, this of the year, that of the year, rookie of the year, tag team of the year, best heel, best this, best that, slammy of the year, 94, 96, 97, like it's he was the man. It's just that he never got that push that he really deserved. Like, now imagine if he was still around for the invasion angle and he actually got to get another match with his brother Brett. Hypothetically, Brett never got injured by Goldberg and all that other stuff and ended up retiring early. He would have got that extra match at WrestleMania. That WrestleMania when he came back would have been crazy. Like, let's really think about that, because you already had NWO, you already had Hogan and The Rock, you had a whole bunch of different matches and stuff that everybody wanted to see, dream matches as they call them. And imagine if he'd have got those matches, Owen Hart and Rey Mysterio, Owen Hart and RVD. Imagine if he got to do matches with Lance Storm, Billy Kidman, Gregory Helms, Booker T, Taz. The beef he could have had with Kurt Angle would have brought in so many more fans, so many more people. It would have been the funniest thing ever, because you have somebody who's genuinely funny and genuinely can wrestle versus somebody else who's genuinely funny and genuinely can wrestle. Owen Hart could really play a heel or a face, but most of his time he did play a heel. Now imagine if he had that heel push with a Money in the Bank. He was already a Grand Slam champion. Well, without the title, he was pretty much a Grand Slam champion. So imagine if he would have got that Money in the Bank cash in. He would have definitely been a Grand Slam champion and would have been up there with the people that we look at as Hall of Famers like Edge. And granted, yes, Owen Hart is supposed to be in WWE's Hall of Fame, but because of legal issues with his wife, he is not. And we also got to put into consideration that TNA started in 2002, only 3 years after he passed. So we still in WWE had, well, going over to WWE from F, we had Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Randy Orton, Shelton Benjamin. Edge made his come up. And then you have people who are starting to come up in the world who don't have a big name, but they're making a name for themselves. AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Austin Aries. The list goes, Luke Gallows, Anderson, a lot of people who are out in other places just making a name for themselves, but they never got an opportunity. So now Owen can say, he can go back to his promo in 1998 after Unforgiven and say, enough is enough and it's time for a change. And I don't know if you remember, that was his intro music for a while. I'm pretty sure you paused it and then went and gone to listen to it. If you didn't, all right, it's crazy, right? That was his music. That was really his music. And imagine that. It would have been the later Yes movement. It could have been the Yes movement that we wanted in 2001. Before the invasion, around the invasion, even after the invasion, you could have pushed him something fierce and it would have been amazing. The matches, he would have been going against some of the greatest who are out now. And then all of a sudden, Shawn Michaels comes back. Bam. Shawn Michaels, Owen Hart, Triple H, Booker T, Elimination Chamber. A lot of matches and a lot of different things was going on. So I've been taking it a step further. Even after the whole, Chris Benoit passing and Eddie Guerrero passing and the steroid scandal and concussion protocols. And if he'd have went to TNA, we'd have seen those matches against AJ and everybody else who went to TNA, and Christian and, the RVDs and the Booker T's and whoever else. Now, I'm not going to say put him in one of the original TLC matches or anything like that, but imagine if he was able to have a TLC match with the Edge for the World Championship, with a John Cena, with a Randy Orton. And even looking back, Owen was that type of person who could have possibly came up with something just yes or enough. And everybody in the crowd chanting, enough, enough, enough. And then next thing you know, he goes from nugget to enough. Yeah, they called him a nugget. He was a nugget because his nose, it was huge, like an oversized chicken nugget. But at the same time, that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is Owen Hart is top 5, well, top tier, greatest wrestlers ever who never got a push. And last but not least, I honestly think that, let's take Chris Jericho out of the picture. He could have been that first undisputed champion. Nobody would have seen it coming. It's been somebody that's been at the company for years, who's been dedicated to wrestling, who's a great wrestler, who can cut promos, who can do this, that, and the third. Why not? It would have been his time. So thank you for watching. I am Doc Wrestling. This is Don't Oversell Wrestling. Like, share, subscribe, comment, tell me what you think. Tell me what wrestlers you want me to do a what if on. And I'm out.